Now, if you test Amud Aleph 2 lines from the top, we learned previously that Rabbi Akiva made a kal v'chomer to say there's even a shlishi by chulin, because the pasuk says that there's a kli cheres and a sheretz falls into it, and kol shebesoicha yitma, which we darshan, Rabbi Akiva darshans yitameh. Therefore, what the liquid that is in the kli, it was a sheni, the sheretz is an av, the kli is a rishon, the liquid is a sheni, and it says yitma, it doesn't say tameh, it says yitma mitzvah yitameh, it can be mitzvah something else. So that liquid touches a food, it can make, that sheni can make the food into a shlishi. So Rabbi Akiva said that there is a shlishi by chulin. Now we were saying that Rabbi Yossi's Talmud does not hold of Rabbi Akiva. He cannot hold that way. Why is that? Because Rabbi Yossi made a kal v'chomer to learn out that by truma, and by truma we know that there's a shlishi, and he made a kal v'chomer to say that by kodesh there's a revi. What was the kal v'chomer? So Rabbi Yossi said, how do I know that there's a revi by kachim? Because it's a kal v'chomer mechuser kippurim, someone who's tameh and who had to bring a korban, like a zav. He had to bring a korban in order to become completely tar. He went to the mikveh, he had Erev Shabbos, it was nightfall. He is a muter betruma. He is muter betruma at that stage, but he's possible b'kodesh. So he's possible b'kodesh. Shlishi, which is possible b'truma. At full yom, passel's truma. Shlishi is possible b'truma. So certainly it should make a revi b'kodesh. Now, why a revi b'kodesh? Certainly you should make a shlishi b'kodesh. Why revi? Normally would say daya. Well, you're learning out from truma that by truma there's a shlishi, then you should learn out and say daya there's only a shlishi by kodesh. No, because we know that there's a shlishi by kodesh anyway from the pasuk. It says abasar sheyigah b'chol tameh. It's anything that's tameh lo yeyachim, and we know that a sheni is called tameh. So therefore we know from the pasuk that there is a shlishi by kodesh. So therefore, if we would say daya, it would nullify the kal v'chomer. And so we don't apply daya in that case, and therefore we say the kal v'chomer is to tell me there's a revi b'kodesh. So that was the kal v'chomer that Rabbi Yossi made. So that's what the Gemara says. V'isal k'daitach savar k'Rabbi Akiva. If you say that Rabbi Yossi also Rabbi Akiva, nisinami revi b'truma v'chamisha b'kodesh. It should come out that there is even a revi b'truma and a chamisha b'kodesh. How is that? Because according to Rabbi Akiva's kal v'chomer, there's a shlishi b'chulin. Well, if there's a shlishi b'chulin, I know that a tful yom doesn't passel chulin, but a tful yom passels truma. So madach a tful yom, which doesn't passel chulin, and by chulin there's a shlishi, eino din kal v'chomer that by truma there should be a revi. Now I can't say daya over here. I can't say daya over here because in any event I know from the pasuk that there is a shlishi by truma. I don't need a kal v'chomer to teach me that there's a shlishi by truma. I know that in any event, if it is the way Rabbi Akiva learns, that the pasuk is telling me that yitameh, that whatever's in the kli cheres should become tameh. So just like there's a shlishi by chulin, there's a shlishi by truma. So I don't need the pasuk to tell me, I don't need the kal v'chomer rather to teach me that there's a shlishi by truma. So therefore I would have a kal v'chomer to say that madach atful yom does not passel chulin. The Torah says that Nisha she'aledes, after her either 7 or 14 days for a zocher and a keva, and she's toivel, she's a tfulas yom aruch, and she bechol kodesh leisiga, she can't touch truma or kach, but chulin she can't. So a tful yom does not passel, a tful yom does not passel chulin, but it does truma. So if by truma there's a shlishi, then the kal v'chomer that there's a revi but truma. Now if there's a revi but truma, you have Rav Yossi's kal v'chomer. Then you have Rav Yossi's kal v'chomer that there should be a chamishi b'kodesh, because there should be a chamishi b'kodesh, because you should say that madach ha'mechuser kippurim is muter b'truma, it's also b'kodesh. So if there's a revi b'truma kal v'chomer, that there should be a chamishi b'kodesh, that should be a chamishi b'kodesh. And Therefore, and again, I won't say daya over here because if I say daya, it will be for the kal v'chaymer. So I should learn out, therefore, that according to if Rav Yosi held like Rabbi Akiva, he should say that there is even a Ravi and a Chamisha B'Truman Kodesh. Ella, therefore, we have proven that Rav Yosi does not hold like Rabbi Akiva. Ella Rabbi Akiva le'savra keRav Yosi minolon. How do I know that Rabbi Akiva does not hold like Rav Yosi? I know that Rav Yosi does not hold Rabbi Akiva because Rav Yosi should say, why is he saying there's a Ravi B'Kodesh? There should be a Chamishi. But how do I know the other way? How do I know that Rabbi Akiva doesn't hold like Rav Yosi? Omer le Rav Ashi said, that we don't find any Tana that says that there is a Ravi B'Truma and Chamisha B'Kodesh b'name of Rabbi Akiva and say it's Rabbi Akiva. If Rabbi Akiva held like Rabbi Yosi, that would be the outcome. And we don't find a Tana that says that outcome in the name of Rabbi Akiva. Rashi says, can we rely on that just because we don't find beferish that somebody says a Ravi and a Chamishi attributing to Rabbi Akiva? Can we rely on that and say that Rabbi Akiva doesn't hold like Rav Yosi doesn't hold the kal v'chaymer, and he in fact does not hold that there is a Ravi and a Chamishi? We can't just based on the omission say that Rabbi Akiva does not hold that way. What would be the svar to say that Rabbi Akiva does not hold the Rav Yosi's kal v'chaymer? It's a very stark, solid kal v'chaymer. Rashi in Saita explains because you can't say make a kal v'chaymer from a shlishi and based on a din that we have by Mechusar Kippur Mentful Yom. Mechusar Kippur Mentful Yom is inherently more chomer because their tuma stems from an avatuma. They became tuma with an avatuma. Now, even though through the passage of time, of tefillah, of time, that the tuma became less, but the source of the tuma is an avatuma, where the shlishi is not an avatuma. So therefore, you cannot necessarily compare the two. Al kol panim, we wanted to say that the Rav Kahana wanted to say that therefore Rav Akiva does not hold like Rav Yosi, and Rav Ashi says that you don't have a raya, but however, Nafik Rav Ashi became Rav Kahana Dakva Ashkach. However, Rav Ashi, some say, was Kahana went out, they were investigated, and they found a raya to say that Lamaisa Rav Akiva does not hold of the kal v'chaymer Rav Yosi. He does not hold of a Ravi B'Truma and a Chamisha B'Kodesh. Where do we see that? Because a kli combine the contents with it to make it considered as one. We say that l'kodesh of loy l'truma. It's only as far as kodesh, but not as far as truma. If a person touches an object, a tuma touches an object, even if he touches the corner of the object, but the entire object becomes tame. We don't say he touched the corner is tame, not the rest of it. If it's one item, if it's one object, tuma comes into contact with any part of it, the entire object becomes tame. However, if you have in a kli, in a container, in a vessel, there's an object with different particles. There's different particles of an item, then each item is on its own. And therefore, if a person, a tuma, touches one item, it doesn't matama, it's not matama the rest of them. Each item is considered separate on its own. So therefore, touching one will not necessarily matama the rest of them. However, we have a concept of the kli as mitzaref. Now at this point, as we'll see, that according to this mahalach, it's a Rabbanadika concept, that we say that whatever in the container, whatever in the kli, in the vessel, it's mitzaref it combines it, and it's considered to be one item. It's considered to be one entity, so the tumah comes into contact with any part of that content, any one of these particles, they all become tame. So where do we say that? We say that l'keidesh v'lo l'truma. That's only for kachim, but not for truma. So we say that it's mitzaref l'keidesh v'lo l'truma, v'haravi b'keidesh posel, v'ashlishi v'truma. And another halach is that there is a ravi b'keidesh, that the fourth level ravi will be posel by keidesh, not by truma. And by truma there's a shlishi. So truma there's a shlishi, keidesh there's a ravi. not Revi and Chamishi, but Shlishi and Revi. V'amar v'chiyah barav Amar v'yaychan, he said that this is Me'edusa shel Rabbi Akiva Nishnas Mishnasu. This Mishnah is based on the Edus of Rabbi Akiva. He's the one, the author of this Mishnah. Desnan, Hoisiv Rabbi Akiva Soilas v'akatoiras v'alvanu gecholim. Rabbi Akiva added on that the soilas, the fine flour of kachin, and the ketairas, and the levina, and the cholim, and the coals, that he added on that shim noga tulyim b'miksosan posel leskulan, and that if a tulyim touched even part of them, he made all of them tomei. They're all considered tomei. So what do we say over here? That for kaidesh we say the kli is mitzaref, and if a tulyim touches part of it, he is now posel leskulan. So what does he say? That he's posel all of them, and in that same edus, that this is Rabbi Akiva, that said the kli is mitzaref, that the kli is mitzaref for kachim. This din, he said that there is a revi betruma, and there is a shlishi betruma, and a revi bekaidish. So Rabbi Akiva, who said this edus lagabi the kli being mitzaref, he said there's a shlishi betruma and revi bekaidish, not a revi and chamishi. So you see that Rabbi Akiva, he's the author of this Mishnah, and you see he does not hold a Rabbi Yosef's kal v'chaimer, because if he did, and based on his kal v'chaimer, that he says there's even a shlishi, Rabbi Akiva says there's even a shlishi b'chulin, if he held of the kal v'chaimer of Yosef, there should be a revi and chamishi. You see clearly he holds revi and chamishi loy, shlishi and revi loy. So conclusively we see that Rabbi Akiva does not hold like Rabbi Yosef's kal v'chaimer. But Agav, the Gemara says, now we're talking about the din of kli being mitzaref, so Rabbi Akiva says that kli is mitzaref derabanan. We see from here that it's a derabanan dikadin, alma kasav tziruf derabanan. We see that he holds that tziruf is a derabanan. Now, the din of tziruf is only a derabanan dikadin, and it's not a deraisa dikadin. How do we see though it's over here? Because he's talking about tziruf a kli in zagabi keteiros, and he's talking about the tziruf of the kli for the coals. Now, Tuma is not matama raw materials. It's not matama non-edibles. Tuma, it comes into contact with the person. Certain types of tumas, an avatuma can be matama. Kalim and avatuma can be matama. Tuma, the varm tmeim can be matama oichlim and mashkim, according to some andomim. But it can't be matama things which are not kalim and not edible. And you see over here that we say that the kli is mitzaref. We're talking about tuma of things that are not edible. We're talking about the keteiros and the gachelas. So it must be over here when we're talking about the kli being mitzaref, we're talking about it in the Rabbana. So therefore we see that Rav Yechon holds that the din of kli mitzaref is a Rabbana dikadin, and it's mentioned by Kodesh because of a concept of chibas HaKodesh, because of the sanctity, because of how choshev Kodesh is. We say we give this higher level of tumah, that even things that are independent, and if one touch, if Tumah touch one particle, it should not be matama different particles, but we give this din of Kli Mitzaref, we treat it as one, that if Tumah came into contact with one, it's matama all of them. So Rav Yochanan holds that's a Rabbana dikadin. However, Pligi the Rav Chanin argues, Tamar Tzir of the Raisa, he holds here of his Daraisa. Shenemar, it says by the Nasim, that the Dovid that Nasim bought for the Chanukas HaMishkan, it says, Kaf Achas Asor Azov Malaya Keteiros. It says, one kaf, one golden ladle, filled with Keteiros. Akos of Asor Kol Masha Bekaf Achas. Why does it say Kaf Achas? To tell you that whatever is in this kaf, whatever is in this ladle, the kli is mitzarefet. This is the din deraisa. So he holds, not like Rav Yochanan, he holds the din that kli is mitzaref is a deraisa dikadin.